Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Hello, Marion County and others. Welcome. We are being filmed today, so we are doing this a little bit differently than we normally do. This will be on CCTV. Is that right? Did I get that right? So I want to make sure you all look your best, I am Teresa Haskins, your chair of SEDCOR until July when Patricia Callahan-Bowman takes over, and she'll get to stand up here next year. But I want to thank you for being here today and welcome you to our March SEDCOR Business Forum. And it's a busy day today in Salem. We have the Oregon Manufacturing Summit going on over at the Convention Center, and I'm guessing there's a couple hundred manufacturers and other parties over there. And we have the grand opening ribbon cutting of Garmin today also. So if you noticed that Tammy was a little more nervous in getting ready, she just ran off to Garmin, and Nick's our man, so he's in charge of the whole show. But we thank them for what they do, and Chad and all the team at SEDCOR. We have great staff, and thank them. So you know this, and I'll repeat it every month, and our numbers will continue to change, which is great because they're good numbers and they increase. But SEDCOR is the lead economic development organization for Marion and Polk counties, and we're touching in a little bit with Yamhill County and the Make It in the Valley grant. And with that, we have helped to secure over $104 million in investment to grow our businesses in this region over the last year. And that's retained or created over 1,400 jobs. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here every month, and that's why we volunteer and do what we are doing, and why we want to hear from the county today. So I want to introduce our head table. So to my right is Linda O'Neill. She's with Vigilant, and she will be introducing the county commissioners. But next to Linda is Sam Brentano, then Janet Carlson, and Kevin Cameron, your county commissioners, who will be more introduced in more detail in a few minutes. So thank you to the head table. I appreciate your willingness. Oh, wait a second. Just 1 second. I got a little more to do. Sorry about that. I know, I'm sorry. I nodded the wrong way, but it's close. So anyhow, we are looking forward to what they'll have to say. I want to thank the sponsors before you come up. So today we want to, once again, and please, if you're in the audience, stand up so everyone can see you and know who you are. Our representatives of MAPS Insurance Services, Ed and team, Northwestern Mutual, Brent, Express Employment Professionals, Patricia, I think I saw you, yep. Vigilant, which you just met, sort of. Chemeketa Community College, Diane or company, Julie, Johnny's here. Kaiser Permanente, yeah. Rich Duncan Construction, Rich, saw you there. Advanced Reporting, don't see anyone. And Sperry Van Ness Commercial Advisors. Thank you, all our sponsors. Let's give them a round of applause. Well, I didn't mention it, and none of them had gone off, but don't forget your cell phone, especially while our speakers are on the podium. Just make sure it's silenced or down to vibrate. And I also want to remind you of where and when our next Business Forum lunch is, and that's next April 8th here at the Broadway Commons, and we're going to bring back Tim Dewey, who's an professor of economics at University of Oregon, and he's going to give us his kind of crystal ball 2015 economic forecast, and you might remember that from last year. So bring your questions and your market perspective. I also want to introduce in the audience some mayors that we have with us today, and we always appreciate your service as mayors and the commitment it takes of time and talent. So Mayor of Kaiser, Kathy Clark, you want to stand? Welcome. Mayor of Silverton, Rick Lewis. Rick, there you are. And the Mayor of Donald, Daryl Nicholson. Thank you. Thank you all for what you do. So before I turn this over to Linda, Marion County is my home, and I think a lot of you call it home, not just now, but maybe where your families have been. And so I can't describe the county nearly as well as our commissioners because they deal with the here and now every day. But I hopped online like a good, I don't know, I would say millennial. I'm not a millennial. I'm not quite a baby boomer, whatever we are in that in-between generation. But I use Google. So I hopped online, and I was curious about our history. And I knew that Marion County used to be really big. Well, Marion County, when it was first established, was actually called Champooey, and it was a district. It was one of 4 districts that covered all of Oregon, and it went from roughly where we are now all the way down to the California border and all the way over to the Rocky Mountains. So aren't you glad you don't have that large of a county to cover? that would be challenging. You could have dealt with Klamath water issues, you know? And so that's interesting to me. And in 1856, I think it was, it took its current shape, and it stayed the same shape since 1856. So we're about 1,200 square miles, and I think we're proud of it. We've got a lot going on, and so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Linda to introduce the commissioners, and we'll have some Q&A time at the end. So thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with you today as we hear from our commissioners regarding their counties. At Vigilant, we serve a similar set of employers as you represent here as SEDCOR members. And our mission is really to lift up business by providing expert counsel on complex HR issues to companies that are striving to be great employers. We do that primarily through services around employment law, workforce and workplace safety, and leadership and organizational development. So you have a little bit of collateral on your table. There's more on the table up front that I encourage you to look at if you're interested in more information. So without any further delay, excuse me, I have the privilege of introducing our speakers. And our first speaker is Commissioner Sam Brentano. And he was first appointed to the Board of Commissioners in 2003, was reelected in 2004, 2008, and 2012. As a commissioner, he focuses on emergency management, transportation, and children and family issues. Commissioner Brentano served as mayor of the city of Sublimity from 1982 to 1993. He also served 20 years as a volunteer firefighter and EMT, a businessman in the solid waste disposal industry for more than 30 years. He retired in 2001 from his position as president and general manager of United Disposal Service. He holds a bachelor's degree in business from the Oregon State University. Commissioner Brentano.
Before I really get started, I got to make a little confession. I don't carry a calendar around, so I scheduled an eye surgery for Monday afternoon, forgetting that Wednesday is one of the bigger events we have at the county. So I'm just a little bit uncomfortable physically, and I hope you can deal with that. Hope I don't start leaking, but that could happen too. For those of you that thought maybe that happened when you crossed Commissioner Carlson, that wasn't it. But it could happen. So let me get going. And again, this is an important opportunity for us to get out, maybe the best each year of all the services that we provide to the citizens of Marion County. You'll see some on the boards, the film, but if you just listen to us, there's so many different things that the county does, and they want us to be quick, so I'll try. I was the board chair last year, so I'm supposed to kind of stick with what was last year, but of course I can't follow rules. But one that did happen in 2014, pretty well covered, was our return to Courthouse Square. After a couple years of being out as the building was essentially condemned, we spent roughly $27 million that we could have, wished we would have spent somewhere else. But it was a success, and I think we made the right decision. And being back for most of this last year, that's reaffirmed. We're back downtown, back where our employees are in one place, and people know what to expect. And and we don't lose the building. So we just had an inspection, and everything looks real good. And again, it just looks like we made the right decision. We had an open house and reopening, but one thing that didn't come out was that we had people in our office, especially Jan Fritz and Barb Young, that really spent time analyzing the business function in each of the offices. And I'm happy to say it just looks like it works better, it runs better. But we have a lot of extra space, and that probably ought to worry you because government abhors a vacuum, and I think we'll fill it up. I'm on the Oregon Garden Foundation board. I see Mayor Lewis here. I should have checked with him first and hope things are still going well, but it hasn't been really reported countywide, but negotiations going on to expand the garden, reaching new 80 acres. It's formerly the Pettit property, some new features. I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be that new life and growth that you like to see, satisfying the original goal of tourism and showcasing our number one industry, agriculture, and particularly the nursery business here in Marion County. So I'm hoping that's still going on, and it looks real positive, so watch for it. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about garbage. Our burner contract was up. We signed a new one, but a short-term one, 3 years, so we're into it. It also is coupled with PGE. Yes. They don't want to pay as much for electricity as they did years ago, so our returns are about a third, if I see it right, of what they've been. The burner works excellent. It processes all the waste in Marion County and some, and meets all the DEQ safeguards. But it's 25 or 27 years old now, and part of the reason for the short contract was to start to think through how we're going to make the next steps. What does the county need? What type of capital? Although maintained wonderfully, things are 25, 27 years old, and how we're going to split that up and how we're going to deal with the lower return in the sales of electricity. So I want you to watch for those things coming up. This is a bad one to talk about, but I might as well get it out. At least personally distressing for me, and I think I know for Commissioner Carlson too, but early last year, we were at a meeting and see a headline that it says that British Columbia is kind of consolidating aborted fetuses in their medical waste and bringing it to Marion County for destruction. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but pretty distressing. I'm happy to report we stopped that within hours and raised a new system with a contract of individual suppliers of medical waste and even an inspection process to make sure it doesn't happen again. We were asked, and he gets into that, you don't normally at a county commissioner position, that philosophical, ethical thing and try to impose your beliefs on somebody else. And they asked, so what are we supposed to do with these? And my answer, and I hope it's backed up and seems to be, this makes me sad, but you can't, here's what you can do. You can cremate them or you can bury them, but you can't put them in the garbage. And that's a message we put out, and I'm proud of it. Now I'll switch to happier things. Time goes too fast. I've got a lot to talk about transportation. We have a report from our engineer Cindy Schmidt on different things we've done. Just have it known, between fewer timber dollars, state gas taxes not going far enough, we're not getting done what we need to. We have 145 bridges in Marion County, and there's some that are bad. They rate them 1 to 100. We average about 70, but we got some 30s and 20s. They say 25, here it is, 25.3, Meridian Road over Abaquaw Creek. They say it's safe, but just remember what you're going over. And it comes up, and especially at this time, and I just get furious about this, and this is my political comment, this Clean Air Senate Bill 324. it could preclude real new money coming in from an increase in gas taxes, which would be hard enough, and we don't want to raise taxes either, but it would have been the best source to really put some money into our infrastructure here in Marion County and the entire state. Instead, our legislature has come up with something that's going to cost $500 million and provide nothing for our roads or bridges, just meet a number that means nothing. And I know the governor hasn't signed it yet, and I hope she hears how unhappy I am about it, and I hope you let her know too. If we're going to raise taxes, let's try to accomplish something. I'll wind up with a little bit of, they say 10 minutes. That's just terrible. I've been on the policy committee coming up with an environmental impact statement for the third bridge, and we're wrapping that up now real quickly. About 7 or 8 years ago, they asked us, those who were to be on it, whether you'd commit to a year and come to the meetings and have input. I said, sure, a year, but that's about all. Well, that's 7 or 8 years, and we're still not done. That kind of scares me. But we're close to the end, and I think we've done some good things. We've chosen a path, and with that, then you can start. You don't build things in the way. You don't build shopping centers or housing developments. You can start doing it in segments. You can purchase right away. And if a process takes 8 or 10 years just to get planned, that's in the books and in the bank, and we're further along. The opponents to it are they're jumping. They say there's fewer people want to travel or drive cars. It's not needed. Well, here Salem, we've got one of the best east-west hubs in the whole state, and we need to take advantage of it. People live where transportation is good, and they build their businesses here, and we need to encourage that. And I'll end it by saying I'm real happy that we're winding up this process. We all know that it probably won't be built in our lifetime. Some of you here, I don't want to put it on everybody. Perhaps you could wheel me out in my wheelchair in my last breath and see where we're at. But we are moving forward with it, and I think it's a good plan, and I hope it moves forward. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brentano. Next, we'll hear from Commissioner Kevin Cameron. He was appointed to the Board of Commissioners in June 2014 and was elected to his first term in November 2014. He previously served in the Oregon House of Representatives, representing the residents of House District 19 from 2005 to 2014. Commissioner Cameron has over 40 years of experience in the hospitality industry as an employee, manager, entrepreneur, and business owner. He's been an active member of the Salem community and has served in volunteer positions with Morning Star Community Church, Battle Creek Little League, OSU Alumni Board, and Corbin University, among many others. Commissioner Cameron holds a Bachelor of Science in Business and Marketing with a minor in Science from Oregon State University. And in 2011, he received